Welcome back to CinemaJam Versus, the podcast where two films enter the ring, but only one leaves with the crown.
Tonight, we're pitting two of the most unhinged, reality-shattering, psychological cosmic horror films of all time against each other, both starring horror legend Sam Neill.
In my corner tonight, we have John Carpenter's 1994 Lovecraftian metafiction classic, In the Mouth of Madness. I'm backing Sam Neill as John Trent, a cynical insurance investigator sent to locate missing horror novelist Sutter Kane, only to discover that Kane's best-selling books are rewriting reality itself and driving humanity to apocalyptic madness.
And in my corner, I'm bringing Andrzej Żuławski, Relentless, 1981 psychological nightmare, Possession. Set against the oppressive backdrop of Cold War West Berlin, Sam Neill plays Mark, a spy returning home to find his wife violent mental breakdown, dissolving their marriage into raw hysteria, bloody self-mutilation, and a terrifying tentacle creature hiding in their apartment.
Two iconic films, one legendary actor, and two complete descents into madness.
Which film breaks reality better, and who takes the win in our official scoreboard? Let's jam.
Okay, Johnny, this one's got your number on it. Let's jam.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of CinemaJam Versus. This is the podcast where two friends get together on a weekly basis to, in this format, put two movies against each other. As usual, I'm Pablo Velez, and I'm joined by my good friend Sebastian Gomez.
Hi, Pablo. Good to see you again.
Good to see you,
I hope you're not getting mad.
No, I haven't read any weird books, nor I have found any tentacle creatures lurking in the city. So tonight, in this episode of CinemaJam Versus podcast, we'll be talking about two movies that we chose as part of an homage to Sam Neill, who unfortunately passed away last week. And, he's a known icon for horror movies, and Sebas and I, we both dug deep into, the vaults of our film knowledge and chose a couple of very obscure movies. On my side, I nominated for this versus the movie In the Mouth of Madness from 1994. And Sebas, you nominated?
I nominated Possession from 1981. And they had more themes in common than I originally expected. They're not just psychological thrillers, but they also have a lot of Lovecraftian themes around it. So it was very, very inspiring nominations, in both cases.
Yep, indeed. So just before we jump into the round, just a quick note and a quick invitation to the people who are discovering this podcast and just are tuning in. Please join us, subscribe. We're very active, Sebas and I publishing our podcast on a weekly basis, both this English version plus the main episode in Spanish in our YouTube channels. Please subscribe, give us a like, follow us also on Instagram, Facebook, and you can also hear the podcast on Spotify and other streaming platforms for podcasts. Also, we got exclusive content on Patreon, where you can join us, follow us, contribute financially if you can, but especially join this community of, film buffs that like to talk and discuss movies.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do it. Let's jump into the battle of these two Sam Neill horror movies.
Round one.
Today, since it's a special episode, we're going to be switching to ask the questions. So I'm going to start with the first one about the story or script. Mouth of Madness deals with a Lovecraftian metafiction, rewriting reality, and Possession uses Cold War era Berlin and a lot of body horror as an allegory to a divorce. So which script executes its central premise more effectively? Carpenter's satirical take on mass media and Lovecraftian dread, or Żuławski's raw, surreal allegory of psychological destruction of this divorce? And Cold War, both of them.
Well, I mean, both movies are very interesting in how they are approaching this Lovecraftian dread, as you put it, Sebas, and that whole surreal, images that you get when you talk about H.P. Lovecraft. For people that don't know H.P. Lovecraft, he was one of the, I want to say, like, pioneers of, metafictional horror, unknown horror. Like, it's always describing what's out there, like this, ancient gods or like undescribable horrors that are coming from another dimension. And I think
other dimensions is like they are
Mhm.
parallel to our universe, but they are massive or epic creatures.
Exactly. And both movies actually touch very effectively on both. I want to say that the approach, how they describe it, is very different. I actually really liked the setting and the story behind Possession, the Żuławski's, movie. I liked the background of Berlin in the Cold War, because you could see the wall many times during the movie. It was a bit weird that everyone was talking with an British accent and no one spoke German. That was a bit strange.
Yeah, they included some German words occasionally, but everyone is in an English accent. That was funny, yeah.
But I mean, it gave like this kind of like, spy type of 80s movie with the whole backdrop with the, Soviets and Americans. Although we don't see much about the spy work of Sam Neill's character in that movie. We only hear about him returning from a mission. So that's all we hear, like about Mark, his character. But I like the setting, and I like the fact that it was like around that time. In The Mouth of Madness is more like early 90s. It's from 94. And you can see that it's trying to be cool, more fast-paced editing, a lot of, cut scenes and soundtrack behind it. But from an overall, let's say, context, like overall around the story, which is very similar, I think I want to give this to Possession, Sebas, the point. What do you think?
Yeah, the story in the Mouth of Madness is interesting, but it's also, I don't want to say it like that, but obvious. It's more like a more traditional like story, like this guy is looking into an insurance fraud, and he's trying to find an author, and he finds a weird town that this guy has written. And I know it came out after this one, but if I haven't seen Alan Wake, if I haven't played Alan Wake before, I would have find this story a little bit more interesting. But as you say, the Possession one, all around this divorce and the destruction and the weird things that are happening in the story, it keeps you more hooked because you don't know what to expect. There are things that happen that like surprise you out of nowhere. But in The Mouth of Madness, it's like a mix of, it's like to mix a lot of Stephen King movies or stories in one. So you see elements of those things, like the Children of the Corn and It and a bunch of things like that. There is another story that I read, didn't read. I watched not long ago about someone getting in a highway stuck in a loop and something like that. So it's more obvious, includes a lot of things. But Possession, you don't know what to expect. So I actually like that a lot about the Possession.
I found myself, Sales, last night, like talking out loud to myself. What am I watching? Like I had to pause and was like, what am I watching? What is this movie? I don't understand this. What is this going to? Or was that real? What I just saw? I think it keeps you hooked. We'll talk about, like the development of the movie and the acting later in other rounds, but it was a surprisingly engaging movie with a context that, I agree, was more resonated more than in The Mouth of Madness, which was a bit more obvious. So let's give the point to Possession. I'll take the points, House. I'll write it down.
Yeah.
Round 2.
Okay, so now it's my turn to ask the question about characters and acting, which is what we usually ask in round 2. So, context. Sam Neill delivers 2 iconic performances in both movies. Performances of mental deterioration supported by Jürgen Prochnow, the German actor in Mouth of Madness, and also with Julie Carmen, and an Oscar-worthy performance by Isabelle Adjani in Possession. So the question is, comparing both performances from Sam Neill, is his transformation as a cynical insurance investigator, John Trent, more compelling than his frantic, hysterical performance as Mark, the spy in Possession?
That's a good point. That's actually a very good question, because we already see John Trent in the movie starts with him in the insane asylum, so we already know that something very weird happened to him. So we see that development, and I actually think his performance is pretty good in the Mouth of Madness. And he's much younger. I mean, we're talking about 13 or 14 years of difference in the Possession. So there are very good moments in Possession, but sometimes it also felt that he didn't knew what was happening. so you could tell that he was trying, but maybe how complicated was the script didn't allow him to really go deep into the character as in the Mouth of Madness. So maybe I will give the edge to in the Mouth of Madness. But if we want to mention the women,
I was going to go there, so I was actually, because, and I agree with you, I want to give the point to Sam Neill in The Mouth of Madness, because compared to the rest of the supporting cast in that movie, his performance was more a standout, and he carried the show.
Yeah,
in
definitely.
Possession, the 1981 movie, actually the French actress Isabelle Adjani, her performance was wow. Like, is one of the most raw performances I've seen from an actress in a long time.
Yeah. She won the award in Cannes and other festivals. She didn't win it. Well, she wasn't nominated for the Oscar, too bad. But it was Oscar nominated. I mean, it should have been nominated for the best awards.
Should have been. Yeah.
It was incredible. And especially there are some scenes that, as we said, you didn't expect what to expect from that. When she's in the subway station, it was like, oh my God, I don't know what she had to do there to get it there. Like when she was like having that epileptic attack or something. Yeah.
Yeah, she was actually miscarriaging whatever thing is it that is possessing her. But there's a scene before where she's because she left her house with Mark, so with Sam Neill's character, and she apparently was having an affair, but she was also kind of like drifting away from his lover. And then she usually came back to visit the house, and in one of the moments that she came back, Sam Neill is always like in between, like begging her to stay, fighting with her, and then in the like this ever-changing state. But there was a scene where they were in the kitchen and she was like cutting or like making some meat.
Yeah.
And then he was in this like speech about, forgiveness or moving on or whatever. And then she starts like cutting herself. Like the whole buildup of the scene, it's amazing. And her performance, like the way you could see the tension and how everything shifts from normal to completely abnormal, I think was fantastic.
Yeah, she did a great job. And how about her second performance as the teacher?
It took me a couple of minutes. Like I saw her the first time, I was like, is this the same actress? And then I had to stop, open up IMDb, and I was like, yes, she's also Helen the teacher.
Yeah, that was an interesting beat there, especially because it's a complete different personality, so it was very interesting. But in this case, since we're focusing on Sam Neill, we're going to give it to Sam Neill.
In The Mouth of Madness.
She deserves the award completely by herself, but this is we are doing this versus in honor of Sam Neill, so. Yeah, In the Mouth of Madness gets the point. So let's go to
Round 3.
Okay, we have John Carpenter, signature widescreen composition, very practical effects, especially, creature suites, and there's some interesting things that remind me a lot of the thing. And Andrzej Żuławski is like a camera that is always following them, a lot of handheld camera, very kinetic, moving around the characters. And there is a very interesting, actually, character design by Carlo Rambaldi. So which directional style creates a sense a stronger sense of horror or even discomfort. The Carpenter blue-tint creepy atmospheric dread or Żuławski claustrophobic high-velocity camera?
So there are actually like two questions that we prepared for this round. I was hoping you would ask me the second one.
Okay, do you want me? Well, that one is specifically about the creatures. So which one is more grotesque?
Come on.
I think the answer is
possession. I mean,
yes, that creature is. And actually, for me, the camera is also possession.
Yes.
There is something weird because the camera gets in their faces and then pulls back and then turn around. The character is the fighting. You see.
It reminded me.
Yeah.
Sebas, it reminded me of the camera work in the Zone of Interest. That
a lot of that. Yeah.
That it was placed in weird places, in weird angles, and it was following in a strange way the characters, and I felt the same way. And plus the creature, when you get to see it the first time, is completely unexpected, and it was like very cool. I stopped it, I paused, I rewinded. I mean, I had like the streaming thing, and then I watched it again a couple of times. I was like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah, it was. I didn't expect. I knew there was. I didn't realize the horror was going to be so practical, because I heard it was a psychological horror and all that, and there were some elements from. So this movie actually came to my radar when I was looking into Upgrade, because it has some elements of possession, right? Someone is out of control and unhinged acting and things like that. So it called that. I don't know why it was in one of those lists that they compare it, but it really caught me out of surprise. It was so creepy and so disgusting. That creature is and is having sex with Isabella in one part of the movie. Oh my God, it's incredible. And the bodies, the bodies are also very realistic. So yeah, it was pretty well done.
Yeah, the only thing that wasn't like too realistic was the blood, because whenever there was like blood coming out, it was like this fake red. But besides that, like the visuals of possession are amazing. And in The Mouth of Madness, I felt at times as if I was watching John Carpenter just using the same props that he had back in Big Trouble in Little China. Like some of the monsters that they found when they were going underground under Chinatown. You can see them like crawling in the tunnel behind Sam Neill. So I thought it was like more like they really looked like puppets, to be honest. Possession had this raw, organic thing. So let's give the point to Possession 100%.
Although I did like the door in the in the Mouth of Madness was pretty cool. But I will give it to Possession as well.
Round 4.
Okay, so Sebas, round 4 is about soundtrack and vibe. So Carpenter and Jim Lang's heavy metal guitar riffs against the synth score with dissonant acoustic eerie, soundtrack from Andrzej Korczynski's score for Possession. So the question is the following: which musical score sets a more fitting tone for cosmic madness? What was done for Mouth of Madness, or what was done for Possession?
So the soundtrack from John Carpenter, the only time I really felt it was during the intro, because it has a very long intro. I didn't really feel like the music was as strong in either movie. So I'm going to let you choose in this case.
I mean, it's clear that the soundtrack from John Carpenter, it's a copy of Enter Sandman from Metallica.
Yeah, very heavy. Yeah.
It's the same structure of the song and the same, like, I mean, obviously they're playing like a different melody, but is the first time I heard
it felt something like that.
Totally, 100%. I mean,
yeah,
exactly, with this build in the drums and then the bass coming in and this metal-like score. I thought it was cool. I mean, it was a copy of Metallica, but I thought it was like a good copy. So again, I didn't feel anything special about the soundtrack of Possession. I mean, it was not intrusive and it was helping the ambiance of the movie, but not particularly like interesting. So I would give the point to In the Mouth of Madness just for that.
I'm okay with that. No problem.
Okay, point given to In the Mouth of Madness. And now we can go to the next round.
Round 5.
Okay, we have so many things to talk about. This is memorable moments. The moment in the Mouth of Madness, we have the night drive that I mentioned before. That it's like a loop and the bicycle with Dion, old Dion, something like that. Changing painting, a weird movie theater finale where he's basically seeing himself in the screen. And Possession features, the subway breakdown, the kitchen scene that you mentioned, and the reveal of the monster in the apartment that she has. So if we are comparing iconic horror scenes, which scenes do you give you like a more permanent mark in your brain as a viewer? So which ones do you, after seeing them yesterday, which one do you remember more?
A lot of scenes from Possession, to be honest.
Yeah, they are so. She acts so well. And when they were fighting together, and even when he was doing things like when he was killing Henrik, for example, I think it was perfectly executed. And the subway scene and I'll have to give it to Possession as well.
There's something like very weird about the acting in Possession, and I was reading about it because it really got stuck in my head. Like, why are they acting like they act? Especially if you look at Heinrich. Heinrich is the lover of Anna, so Isabelle Adjani's character, so Mark's wife, Sam Neill's wife in the movie.
And he's like bisexual because he's also hitting on Sam Neill's character at what point?
I never understood exactly if that was happening or not, but there was a very strange relation between the two of them. And at the same time, like the way he spoke and the way he behaved, even when he was like, hurt at the end and bleeding, he was completely off. Him, Margaret Carston, who was like a friend of theirs, and even the mother of Heinrich, it was also like completely off. Like there was no one.
It was, yeah. And both movies end in an apocalyptic fashion.
Yes.
And that was so interesting because I don't know. The way it ended, the Possession one, with the face of the Ellen, the teacher, it was fascinating because basically bombs were landing at the time, because I think we're supposed to understand that the wife of Mark had like the Antichrist. I don't know.
I think it's a stretch to explain what happened, but at the end, there was like a breakout of war, most likely, between superpowers in the 80s, but we don't see anything else. I mean, but the ending is very bleak. Like the main characters die, and spoiler alerts, the kid kills himself in a very weird, sad moment. Yeah. And then, we just get to see the teacher. And I realize now why she was like so weird, so off. She had these green, weird eyes that apparently is like a sign of possession by the creature. So in the end, I guess, the teacher was possessed as well. So it's a very strange ending. And maybe, we're talking about memorable moments. So the subway scene, the intimate scene between Isabelle Adjani and the monster. Every single time the monster was seen by someone in the apartment was also an iconic scene. The fight in the bar, in the pub between Sam Neill and Heinrich. There are also good moments in the Mouth of Madness. A lot of good moments. When they run out, when they're trying to escape the town and they get in, and they see the kid that becomes old riding the bike like the paper boy. That was very cool, very well done, very John Carpenter. Like you said, the wall that was like an organic door. That was like holding off this unknown and describable horrors from Lovecraft. That was also pretty cool. And there were like good moments also with the characters, the makeup, the monsters in the town. But there's way more, I want to say, in Possession. It's more raw, it's more unexpected.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I really liked Possession. I was surprised how much I like it, actually. It surprised me all over the place, and some of those scenes stuck to me. There were a lot of elements in The Mouth of Madness that remind me a lot of other movies from John Carpenter, from Stephen King. it didn't feel as original as I wanted, to be honest. So that's maybe like the problem. Yeah. So let's go to the rounds.
Round 6.
So which one do you think it works better for rewatchability? In the Mouth of Madness functions as a fast-paced, kind of like a meta-horror puzzle. Possession is much more emotionally exhausting, but it also feels more like a cinematic experience. So which one do you think will be like the one that you maybe will try again to rewatch?
I was thinking about this question and I was debating what I was going to answer. And I think I want to give it to In the Mouth of Madness, but let me explain why.
Well, okay, go ahead. Yeah. I'm going to ask you a follow-up question, but go ahead, answer.
Okay, so I've seen In the Mouth of Madness before. I'm a big John Carpenter fan, and I've always found it a very, easy movie to watch again. It's, it's fun to watch. It's a John Carpenter, typical movie. It has some, fun, practical effects. Sam Neill is cool in the movie. There's nothing, too challenging about it. Possession is the first time that I watched it, Sebas, and I really, really liked it. I really enjoyed it. But it's a very difficult movie to watch. It's not easy. It's not easy watching. I will watch it again one more time. I want to spend another time watching it again because I feel like I there are things that I want to pay more attention to now that I saw it the first time. But it's not a movie that I think I would go back to over and over. In the Mouth of Madness, I think it's it's like a
popcorn.
It's more like a popcorn movie. It's something that you can easily put in the background and just fall asleep to. I mean, it's not bad, it's not boring, but it's easier to digest than Possession. That's why I want to give the point to In the Mouth of Madness.
Well, I agree with that. But if the following question is, so which film do you think will add more value by rewatching it a second or a third time? In that case, I think the answer is Possession in my case, because it's the one that has more subtext, I guess you can say.
Actually, in your case and in my case too, because I hadn't seen Possession before, so I need to watch it again. I mean, I have to. Poof.
You know what? I think we should split this one. I think because I think both of them have enough elements to make it one day we can sit down and rewatch it and talk about it. Maybe in person, discuss it and look at this.
Yes, I know. I mean, we can split it. The only thing is that when we say rewatchability, I always thought about watching it over and over again. And there's something about Possession that I don't know if I want to see it over and over again. I think it's a really good movie that I need to watch a second time, put it on hold for a couple of years and maybe revisit it. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's the thing. So rewatchability can mean both things, right? Have fun rewatching it. I actually don't think both movies are very fun rewatching because they are about the psychological destruction of someone. One for his work and the other one for his wife. But yeah, so when you watch a movie, the other interpretation can be, are you getting more value of rewatching it? When you watch Casablanca or you watch Citizen Kane, that you're finding new things to enjoy about the movie. It can be difficult. I vote that we split it.
Okay, let's split it. It's fine.
Okay. With that, we do have a winner, right?
Yes, we have a winner.
Actually, very close, but we.
And the winner
by just half a point. No, sorry, actually by 1 point, right?
No, well, yeah, technically 1 point. Yeah.
Yeah, technically by 1 point. Possession, the movie from 1981, directed by Andrzej Żuławski and starring Isabelle Adjani, Sam Neill, Margaret Carsten, and also Heinz Bennett, is the winner of this Versus episode.
Yeah, and it was very close. I think if we didn't split that last point, we would have had a tie, right? So it was a very close call in this case.
I was hoping for a tie, to be honest, because I think
you were hoping for a tie. You wanna go ahead and
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. No. Possession is the better movie in this psychological descent into madness with surreal Lovecraftian horror as the context. I think this makes sense. It makes sense to us.
And it's the metaphor around the divorce is very interesting, and the Cold War makes it very interesting. And I enjoyed that part of the story as well. Okay, everyone, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope you're able to see them. In the Mouth of Madness is available in Tubi in the United States and Canada, and Possession, I think, is available in Paramount Plus, if I remember correctly, or Shudder.
It's available in Shudder, yes.
Okay. It's in Shudder in online, basically. And both of them are actually worth exploring, especially seeing the range of Sam Neill. I think both of these movies are actually a good example of what he could do in a single movie. Until next time, keep jamming about movies.
Thanks, everyone.